Both these participants are in Hari, also channel is also in Hari. So I would expect extreme cooperation from the participants, from the presenters. They are to finish in time so that the whole session can be very happy. So the PM Pandey will be presenting the first of his paper, and in the field of archaeology, master, what to introduce. Please.
Thank you, Professor Mukhopadhyay. And I'm thankful to the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture for asking me to present the paper here. In fact, when I received the invitation, I was a bit surprised because I noticed that the volumes which have been published earlier contained articles which are of a different genre, if I may say so. But anyway, so I wrote a letter asking that if I could present a paper on the Harappan inscribed material, and this was readily agreed. So I will be telling only some basic facts about the Harappan inscribed material, and first I will read out what I have to say, followed by some images which are fairly large in number. So I'll rush it through. I'll try to keep time. Well, an important feature of the Harappa culture, which is variously mentioned as the Indus Valley civilization, Indus culture, Indus Saraswati or Saraswati Sindhu culture, is the presence of inscribed material in the form of seals, sealings, inscribed objects of ivory, shell, stone, bronze or copper, gold and silver, pottery with signs either painted or in graffito. All these present variety in terms of type, shape or form, size or material. At the same time, the inscribed signs in them show a consistency to the point of standardization and be considered as representing a script. These inscribed signs are ubiquitous in the area of extent of the Harappa culture and are more or less uniformly the same during the period of its existence in the 3rd, 2nd millennium BCE. At the same time, notwithstanding the uniformity, as some scholars have observed, there are some minor spatial or temporal variations in the forms of signs. The seals and sealings having inscriptions, in most cases, are accompanied by some graphic representation. There are also seals and sealings which carry only the inscription and there is no accompanying figure. The inscriptions are found both in negative or intaglio. Others are in positive, that is, are to be read as found. The inscriptions in intaglio are on seals, generally made of steatite, while the inscriptions in positive are on sealings or seal impressions, copper tablets, as stamp impressions on pottery or clay lumps, and as graffiti or painted on pottery, or as engravings on different types of objects. There are also some faience and metal seals, including those of gold and silver, with inscriptions in relief in positive. The solitary inscription on a so-called signboard found at Dholavira is also in positive, and that's a unique example. So far, about 6,000 or more inscribed objects have been found from different sites in the Indo-Pakistan subcontinent, including those from sites in Western and Central Asia. Interestingly, none of the cultures contemporary to the Harappan have yielded any evidence of comparable signs. Some scholars, though, have tried to trace similarity in the graffiti marks as available in the Chalcolithic and other cultures. At present, the largest number of inscribed objects have been found at Mohenjo-daro, followed by those from Harappa, Lothal, Dholavira in Kutch, Kalibangan in Rajasthan, Chanudaro, Banawali, etc., ascribable to the different phases of Harappa culture. Now, the maximum number of inscribed material found so far is that of steatite seals, either square or rectangular in shape. A few circular or cylindrical seals are also of steatite. These seals and their impressions on clay ceilings or on pottery have generally some animal or anthropomorphic figure, either solus or forming part of some scene, while some scenes do not have any accompanying human or animal figure. Likewise, some of the seals with inscriptions in relief also show similar features. A few also have the representation of some building, and in one or two cases, representation of a boat. The square seals have normally a perforated boss at the back. This must have served the twofold purpose of hanging the seal by putting a cord through the perforation and to hold the seal at the time of taking the impression. Then there are some seals with a perforation on the side running through its body. The rectangular seals are flat on the front and convex on the back side. I will be showing the images. In the middle is a hole running through evidently from the cord. The round seals have a perforated boss, while the cylinder seals have a perforation running through its longer side for rolling it over the surface. Seal impressions have been found on pots, sometimes more than one impression containing the inscription of the same seal or from different ones on lumps of clay or what have been termed as clay tablets. Copper tablets, which are some very unique feature and which are found only at Mohenjo-daro, have inscribed inscription on one face or on both faces, or inscription on one face and some anthropomorphic or animal, sometimes composite figure or a symbol on the other face. Inscriptions on the copper tablets are in positive and were meant to be read as such. It is interesting to note that while it has not been possible to correlate the iconographic motifs with the inscription in other types of seals and sealings, in copper tablets one can notice connection between the inscription and the motifs and symbols. Majority of seals are steatite, followed by those of copper, faience, gold or silver. Seal impressions are on clay pots and lumps of clay. The steatite seals have been very skillfully executed, both in the rendering of the iconographic motifs and scenes as well as the script. Interestingly enough, execution of individual signs in some seals appears to be nail-headed, reminding of the cuneiform script. It may of course be added that save for this vague resemblance, there is no connection between the two scripts. In most square seals, some iconographic motif or scene is shown along with the inscription. In some cases, the entire face of the seal is covered with inscription without any accompanying motif or scene. In a few cases, all sides of the seal, including the obverse and the reverse, have some inscription or the other. The iconographic motifs are animals, anthropomorphs, object or some design or symbol. The animals are both real or imagined, either shown solus or in a group forming part of a scene. There are also composite or even joined animals. Anthropomorphs are shown singly in different postures or as part of a scene. Among animals, the most common is the unicorn, followed by other animals like the zebu, buffalo, urus, bison, markhor, goat, deer, rhinoceros, elephant, hare, tiger, ghadial, and snake. The unicorn in some seals is depicted with heads of other animals emerging from the neck, or the unicorn head emerging from the body of a bison. Unicorn appears to be important since in a seal, a head each of unicorn is emerging on opposite directions with a stem in the middle. I will be showing an image in the middle with 8 people leaves. The inscription is on the lower portion of the seal. In yet another seal, the unicorn is shown with flayed skin, and the inscription is again in the lower portion of this seal. The unicorn is also shown in some seals with a face covered by a mask or with horned elephant head.
Image beg
Beg your pardon?
images
The images do not necessarily follow the sequence. I will be explaining to you. Zebu also seems to be important, as could be discerned from its rendering in the seals. Of particular interest are the representations of anthropomorphs, which are variously shown individually, in groups, or as part of some scene, in action, wearing masks, deified figures, standing within a frame, etc. Besides these, there are also symbols like the swastika, dotted circle, cross-like motif, endless knot designs, and geometrical patterns. The importance of the sealings and pottery and other material containing scratched or engraved designs lies primarily in the inscriptions. The inscriptions have been formed by using certain epical signs. generally referred to as the Harappan or the Indus script. It consists of basic signs and their graphic variants. There is no unanimity among scholars about the exact number of basic signs. These basic signs have been modified by internal and external strokes, combinations of two or more signs or ligatures, mirror reflected pairs of signs, realistically drawn animal, bird or human or aquatic animal figure, or even stylized figures and signs which may represent numerals. On the basis of analysis by different scholars, the normalized signary of the Harappan script is generally taken to be between 250 and 400 basic signs. Though it has not been possible so far to establish evolution of the script, since it has been found that the form of the Harappan signs seems to be consistently similar from all levels, attempts have also been made to suggest evolution of certain signs. Now, Harappan signs generally occur as continuously written texts of inscriptions. The number of signs varying in a single line between 2 and 14. In some cases, signs have been used only singly. The maximum number of signs used in a text available so far is 17, though according to Irawat and Mahadevan, who have done a good amount of work on this subject, the maximum number is 26 signs in a seal. The maximum number of lines on one side of an inscribed object is 3. The lines on a single face of an object are generally one below the other, though there are some examples where lines are engraved on the sides of the seals in the space available after the central figure has been drawn. In an example, lines have been drawn on 3 sides of a seal. In a few cases, the Busto-Fridon method, that is like plow, has been used. It is generally agreed that the Harappan script was written from right to left, though some scholars believe that it was written from left to right, while some scholars argue that it was written both from right to left and left to right simultaneously. So you can see there is no unanimity about this. In case of inscriptions containing more than one line, Busto-Fridon mode has been used. The possibility of the script being written from right to left has been more or less established on the basis of overlap of signs as seen in Taffety, both pre-firing and post-firing on pottery. The language of the inscription has been variously claimed as, it's a very long list, Sanskrit, archaic Vedic, symbols of the Tantric code, Hittite, Eastern Island script, Sumerian, Egyptian hieroglyphic, Proto-Dravidian or other Dravidian group of languages, Bundelkhandi. There was a book published in Hindi in 2 volumes. The title was Andaband. Translated into English would be Abracadabra. Bundelkhandi, Mundari, borrowing from Proto-Elamites, etc. Here I would like to emphasize that none of the decipherments is valid, since these are based on untenable hypotheses, lack of chronological accuracy, unsound reconstructions because of linguistic naivety, and in general, preconceptions of the language of the inscriptions which are not based on any systematic or rigorous evaluation but on a priori and untenable assertions, ignoring or violating the linguistic principles of decipherment. Now, except for the similarity of certain signs with some graffiti marks on pottery from certain Chalcolithic sites and megalithic pottery, there is no evidence to suggest, as I mentioned earlier, to suggest survival of Harappan script into later periods. Some scholars have, however, hypothesized that the Brahmi script originated or evolved from the Harappan script. Now, the script has been subjected to a variety of analysis, beginning with the classic work of G.R. Hunter. Then a team of Russian scholars led by Yuri Konorzov carried out computer analysis of this script. He had earlier done computer analysis and decipherment of the Mayan hieroglyphics. On the basis of positional statistical analysis of the text, they divided the inscriptions into blocks corresponding to definite grammatical units, words and word combinations. The blocks consist of set, semi-variant and variant signs. The Russian scholars argue that the Harappan inscriptions have certain specific combinations which occur only in Dravidian languages. On the basis of their analysis, they divided the inscriptions as sacrificial inscriptions, which carry names of gods and constellations, protective inscriptions containing names of gods and names of the owner of the seal and explanations about him, temple inscriptions and nominal inscriptions. The Finnish team, led by Asko Parpola, who has done remarkable work about which I will be mentioning again. He also considers the language of the inscriptions to be Proto-Dravidian, a view propounded earlier by Father Heras and also later by an American archaeologist, Walter Fairservice. Asko Parpola and his team had earlier carried out computer analysis of the script. He has also now undertaken the editing and publication of corpus of Indus seals and inscriptions, which is a gigantic work, I would say. And in fact, the images which I am going to show have been taken from the corpus in collaboration with his colleagues and Indian and Pakistani archaeologists. 3 volumes of this corpus have already been published. Volume 3 is in 2 parts, of which part 2 is under printing. This corpus contains photographs taken specifically for publication in this work, and without any doubt is the most authentic and authoritative publication on the subject. Earlier, Iravasan Mahadevan, whose industrial tests, concordance and tables based on computer analysis has been published by the Archaeological Survey of India, he also considers the Harappan script to be Proto-Dravidian. Now, scholars who have attempted to read Sanskrit in Harappan script are S.R. Rao, M.V.N. Krishna Rao, Prannath and others, while Prannath and Swami Shankaranand identified it as Tantric code. S. Kalyana Raman has claimed that the seals and sealings contain inscriptions for and by metal workers. So such divergent views are there. Well, the Harappan script remains an enigma. Different scholars have different views on the script, calling it variously as alphabetic, syllabic, phonetic, logographic, pictographic, hieroglyphic, so on and so forth. Now the position at present is that none of the claims of the decipherment are valid. However, the work done by scholars has to an extent helped in understanding the nature of the script and its behavior. Now I'll show the images. As I mentioned, these images are all taken from corpus of Indus seals and inscriptions. The value of this corpus is that all the photographs which have been published in the corpus are